Welcome back to Fast Market on the TD Ameritrade Network. I'm Tom White, joined by my co-host Kevin Hinks. Before we get to our next guest, though, let's take a look at the four major indices because they are falling as we speak. We've got a couple of them in the red now. S&P 500 only up about 0.2%. Dow Jones Industrial Average and Russell both flirting with that the red level at this point. And the NASDAQ 100 giving up over 2% of gains that we saw earlier in the session, basically flat. So once again, the roller coaster ride continues as they're selling rallies at this point. Dow Jones and the NASDAQ 100 now negative. All right, let's bring in our next guest for our cash tag segment. That's going to be Landon Swan, the co-founder of LikeFolio. Thanks for being here today, Landon.
Hey guys, thank you. Appreciate it.
All right, so we're talking food, Yum Brands. So I tweeted something out, Landon. Give me your take here before we get into the question. Yum Brands, that's Taco Bell, Pizza Hut, KFC. What's your go-to?
Taco Bell. I mean, I hate to go against the Kentucky of the Kentucky Fried Chicken, but man, Taco Bell's where it's at. I love it. And I'm glad that they're bringing back the Mexican pizza. That is fantastic.
Mexican pizza. I just heard of, I mean, this is almost like the Shamrock Shake from McDonald's, or the McRib. Everybody loves this thing. But what kind of data are you seeing from Yum Brands? The stock's done okay. It seems like Pizza Hut's still a drag on their overall business, but the other two are doing pretty well.
Yeah, so look, we'll start with this the pizza spike. So the last time they announced it, you can see that purple line there, the little spike back in September of 2020, and compare that to where it's at now. It's just massive. I mean, it's almost triple what it was. They even said on their Twitter that the pizza was 7 times as popular as they were anticipating. So they ran out, sold out everywhere, and just had trouble keeping up with demand. So I think it's just one of those things, you take it away and people want it, and then I guess we'll get used to it. But it was definitely missed. But Taco Bell's the one. That's the company or the brand of the 3 major brands inside of Yum that's really growing the most. The same store sales are up 5% year over year, whereas KFC's up 3%, Pizza Hut's flat. And so even though KFC represents a larger percentage of sales, Taco Bell is chipping away at that and gaining it definitely on a same store sale basis. I'm not sure on the units. I believe that KFC is actually still growing faster. A lot of that has to do with China. About a fourth of their business comes from China for KFC. But when you look at just sort of the overall market or overall, I guess, macro conditions, people are talking about going out to restaurants and going out getting fast food at much higher levels than they have in the past. So we're looking at a plus 34%, I believe, on going out to restaurants, plus 26% on fast food. So people are getting out there. This is a year over year basis. And, the comps are obviously a little bit down from, a year ago. Things were not, completely open, but we're not really comparing against the pure lockdown stages a year ago. So we're starting to get into more realistic comps. These numbers will come down as COVID gets further and further in our rearview mirror. But this is telling you that people are getting out and eating more. And, also another statistic that I saw was obviously, inflation's painful for everyone. Food prices are through the roof. But it's actually hitting people harder at home than it is at restaurants. Food prices for at-home preparation are up about 11%, whereas food prices and menu prices at restaurants are only up about 7%. Again, only 7 is still a big number, but it's interesting that the pain is more felt at home. And so relatively speaking, it can maybe be more attractive to go out to eat, even though obviously that is more expensive overall. But the growth is just not there as far as the price. And when you compare against some of their peers, Yum is actually doing the best. So we look at McDonald's, QSR, which is Burger King, Popeyes, Tim Hortons. You can see Yum is in the right place on this chart. Top right, they've got the highest level of happiness, basically tied with McDonald's. Not tremendous, but 64 is pretty good for fast food. And then they have the best purchase intent increase at plus 7%, whereas McDonald's slightly growing and QSR is falling behind. So of these 3, definitely more attractive to get into Yum. Also, we didn't add Wendy's on this, but they would be around or slightly behind where McDonald's is. So Yum would still be in the top right, even if we included them. So overall, I think things are looking pretty good. The stock is only about 13% off all-time highs when compared to a lot of companies these days. That's a small number. And they don't have the volatility that some of the other ones do, but I think the stock is doing fairly well. And I think that the data supports that. They've got a very strong brand in Taco Bell, a pretty strong brand in KFC. Again, you talked about Pizza Hut kind of being the laggard. It is, but the other two are really growing very well and outperforming some of their peers. So I like Yum long term. We'll see how things go short term, but definitely love them long term.
All right, Landon, I need a couple of clarifications here because when Tom introduced this segment, he said we were going to talk about restaurant companies. I'm like, is it? Is Taco Bell really, is Yum Brands really restaurants? Because I get fast food and I get restaurants. Is Taco Bell, this fast food company, part of your restaurant data on this? Because who's going there to eat? And when I think of a restaurant, Taco Bell does not come to mind in terms of food. Takeout, I get, but is Taco Bell, is fast food considered restaurant eating? Because that data seems a little odd. Now, Taco Bell is the clear winner. It's hard for people in Chicago to look at Pizza Hut because we are such a regional pizza town here. So we don't do a lot of Pizza Hut in this town. But my big question is, how does Taco Bell, how does fast food flow into restaurants? Or do you, do you divide those up in that group?
We do divide those up. And that's actually so, you make a good point. I think you're a little bougie that you think that, Taco Bell's not a restaurant. But
come on!
We do divide them up. Restaurant is more of the, you sit down, you get a menu, and you order, that kind of thing. That's the one, that category is up 34% year over year, whereas the other category, fast food, which is the stuff you're talking about, is only up 26%. Both of them are strong, but I think it kind of shows you the comparison. While people are going out and eating out more in all situations, they are going more for the sit-down type restaurants than they are for the fast food, even though they're both growing tremendously.
Yeah, and Landon, when you look at that, the comparisons you said for fast food companies, they're, the positivity as far as sentiment is, it's not as high as some other sectors, just probably due to the fact that it's fast food. But when you look at what Taco Bell does, and that's the driver for this company, because KFC, remember, they're big in China, right? They provide a big lump of revenue for, for their company, and they've been on lockdown for over a month, so that'll probably negatively affect them for at least a quarter. But, Taco Bell's got 4 ingredients, and they just mix and match it different ways and sell the same product. Is this what drives them, is that, hey, everybody loves those 4 products, so they can do it any way they want, and when they come out with a new product, that's a boon for them for a quarter or 2 quarters, and that's what you expect out of companies like this when they rework their menu.
It's exactly right. It kind of reminds me of when Pizza Hut, every 2 months, they had a new crust of some sort. Like we put cheese here, we put bacon there, I don't know, whatever they did. It's always throwing something new out there to get people in the door. You're right. Taco Bell has the very few ingredients, but if they add 1 ingredient, that creates 20 new products that they can do, and they can take 2 years to roll those out. So they have a really good formula for success of getting people more excited and coming back. But you're absolutely right. I think this is one of the reasons that this company is leading. Now, going back to Kevin, comment about the restaurants, I will say that when you look at pretty much all fast food companies that we track, they're all pretty flat around that, single-digit purchase intent growth. Or even what the earnings score would be. It's pretty flat, nothing huge. Of all the restaurants, though, the more sit-down restaurants, Darden is actually doing the best. So we're seeing it pretty strong. And, Olive Garden, I think Longhorn is another one of those, and maybe Cheddar's. I'm not sure if they still own that. But Darden's doing well when you compare that to some of the other peers.
Yeah, and then they have the delivery business from the fast food. We should have had Sean Cruz in here, guys, because he is a Taco Bell maniac for this segment. But that being said, now we don't have earnings anytime soon for this, but if you had a score on this based on what your data states, what would it be?
It's only a +3, so basically flat. Long term, we love this. We like that the trends are all moving in the right direction for this company. We love the growth from their two major brands, especially the Taco Bell, which I think is on its way to be the #1 brand. And just all the happiness, purchases, and everything that we've got is very positive for this company. And the stock's held up really well. It's about, it's a little bit higher than its pre-COVID all-time highs, and it's 13% off of its all-time highs post-COVID. So stock's doing well. It's hung in there, and I like it long term. So any kind of dip, we don't have a big earnings report coming up soon, like you said. So I wouldn't expect anything huge. But if there's a dip, I think it's a good place to pick up shares.
All right, great stuff. Yeah, and the stock did hit all-time highs at the start of the year, end of December. All right, Landon, thanks. Great stuff as always.
All right, enjoy your lunch.
All right, that's Landon Swan, the co-founder of LikeFolio.